Hey, I know I'm a little late to this party since Before We Leave came out last week or so, but as they say, better late than never. Before We Leave is a casual resource management colony sim with an extreme focus on trading and trading routes. It's a well-made game that doesn't quite do anything new, but if you're into management mechanics, then it's still worth a look. I'm having fun playing. Unfortunately, they give away the coolest part of Before We Leave in the promotional material, but it is probably the biggest draw to the game. How could they not promo the crap out of it? That not so secret mechanic is that you get to go to the stars. Yes, you can build a spaceship and colonize other planets. It happens fairly quickly. It's like almost 0 to 100. I'm such a sucker for humans going to the stars and finding new planets and aliens, so anything that hits those notes is going to get some bonus points. Before We Leave starts with civilization forced underground for generations. God only knows how they survived for so long down there because they come out of the hole with nothing. You'll need to get them eating potatoes and discovering the previous tech that just so happens to still be laying around the island. They also don't remember anything either. You start on a tiny island with very few available construction options. A house, potato farm, woodcutter, well, and a library. The last one is key if you want to advance your society. That's where all your research comes from, so it's the most important building. Before we cover the tech tree, understanding the flow of the game is more important. I mentioned before now that you start on a single island, but that's not going to be enough to survive. It's good enough to start, especially getting all your peeps to start living outside the underground bunker. But you're extremely limited by the science and space options available on your island. Your next move is going to be expanding to another island on the planet. You got to build a colonization boat and pick your next island to manage. You'll also need a dock on each island, so you can transport goods and science between them. This is when things start to heat up. You'll need to manage both places and set up some trade routes between them. It opens up the possibility that one island creates something the other doesn't. Since the islands are different biomes, they will have different natural resources. For example, you might ship sand from a desert island to another island with a glass factory. This might seem crazy, but it's a real example I had in my game. The island management is great, and I enjoyed trying to figure out which island is going to handle producing versus another. You will not be able to create the perfect island with one of everything with all the natural resources available. The game made sure this cannot happen. It's the way I play in Civilization with one giant city and very few supportive ones. So Before We Leave is a bit foreign to me. There isn't near enough land per island to fit everything. I enjoyed being forced out of my element. However, since you're going to be setting up a bunch of settlements, the game lets you be a little more hands-off than you might expect. You can pretty much set them up and they'll manage themselves until you're ready to add more peeps. This is good if you're running 3 of these islands per planet, and there are 5 to 7 planets per game. Before We Leave is more about setting up factories, getting the trade routes going, and then getting on with it. Anyway, one of the reasons your trade routes are so important is for collecting and moving around your science. There are several different color science points to collect. All the different colors of science need to be in the same place before you can use the library to research a node. So again, there's no way you're going to be able to stay on one island the entire time if you want to advance the game. You'll need to collect a different color science on a different island and send it back to the other island so you can research a new node in the tech tree. Not to mention, it's a limited resource. The trading screen is pretty good and applies to not only your trade routes by sea, but the ones in outer space as well. I like how it's easy to see which resources being sent around. Also, the game shows which resources are increasing and decreasing where you're shipping them from and to. I failed a little here since I didn't rename the islands to make them more distinct. It was difficult to remember if Island 2 or 3 had all the sand I needed to ship back to Island 1. The game also lets you rename everything else as well, including warehouses, planets, peeps, and boats, so don't make the same mistake I did. It's all in service to get through the tech tree. It's pretty big and each unlock is significant. Yes, even unlocking bridges, as mundane as it seems, is a pretty nice feature to have. It makes it a lot easier to connect different parts of the island since it also works between elevated tiles. However, the game doesn't do a good job showing the player what they're going to unlock. For example, unlocking something might also give you a new field and factory. Comparing Before We Leave to other games, I would expect the tooltip to show what buildings would be unlocked after completing the research. It's not the worst, and you're pretty much expected to research everything. So, moving on to the building, which is a simple system, but placing stuff can be tricky. The hex tiles make it challenging to create the perfect layout. You'll first need to build roads around, and then you can place buildings next to the road. And there are bonuses to putting certain buildings next to others, like the well and farm. You'll also want to make sure to build a warehouse for finished items. The production buildings have limited storage, and they can only produce if there's room. So if you notice everything grinding to a halt, then you're probably missing a warehouse. So half your spaces are taken up with the road, and it's not ideal to destroy too many of the natural resources. The peeps like to see the trees, so I'm obsessed with not removing them, which probably makes building a lot more difficult than it needs to be. The hex tiles mean there is limited space on an island, and I mentioned this before, there's no way to fit everything on one island. Otherwise, the mechanics of building are extremely easy, and the game makes it clear what can fit where. I think the best compliment I can give is that I never had to think twice about it at all. Before We Leave is pushy about creating a world that is pollution-free. Between whatever happened previously in the world and all the production buildings specifying a pollution zone, it seems pretty serious, and your peeps hate pollution and the sight of the pollution-creating buildings. But there are ways to mitigate the damage with more trees and a cleaner. The pollution focus has been done before in other builders, and it's a fairly simple system here. Still, I enjoyed having some repercussions for making the island so dirty. But it also had to fit into the set it and forget it system the game has created for itself. So while I enjoyed it, the mechanics aren't stressful if that's what you're expecting. As a colony sim, you will need to manage your peeps' happiness. If capitalism has taught me anything, it's that happy workers equal more productivity. So keep some trees around because passing through some trees on the way to work makes them happy. You can also make other fields besides potatoes, which helps. But as your population grows, they become more unhappy. However, the levels are so extreme, I don't know how I would ever fit enough peeps onto an island to reach it. Keep in mind there are reasons to build up your peeps' population. Sometimes the game forces you to have enough peeps to activate old tech, and you'll always want to make sure there are plenty to get all the work done. It's kinda a pain to be forced into building more housing. Even so, the amount of peeps you need is nowhere near the amount that would trigger some bad feelings. I'm not sure what the point is. I'm also not sure how I would ever fit 120 peeps on an island, even with upgraded housing. I'm sure it's possible, but what's the point? Peeps start feeling depressed with 60 peeps on an island, but the meter goes all the way up to 240. Woo! So you will want to start with the tutorial, but it leads you by the hand through a ton of content. If you are a player who enjoys figuring out the game for themselves, then this is the exact opposite experience you want. Every step of the way is detailed in a quest log for you. It removes any sense of discovery, and it feels like you're going through the motions. Otherwise, you can choose to start a new game, and I've put all the available settings on the screen right now. Pretty much what you would expect to find in a game like this. Then there are 4 scenarios you can do, and one of them is the prequel, which explains the story of the peeps. That's pretty nice. It's a race against time to planet hop to different planets before disaster strikes the entire solar system. I like the pressure to build as fast as possible to get the heck out of there. It's a lot more stressful than the normal game. Overall, Before We Leave is fun, and managing your spacefaring peeps is easy to do. The developers took care to make sure everything felt natural, and I appreciate it. Did I need the extra long tutorial to push me through the entire game? Probably not, and it ruins any possibility from an exciting discovery. It's a lot more casual than I normally enjoy my colony simulations, and it's missing the just one more task before bed feeling. I really do miss that feeling. I do recommend Before We Leave if you want a less stressful colony management simulation-y game, or if you're really into managing trade routes. And that's the end of the review. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, then please consider subscribing to the channel for more indie game reviews. Thanks for watching.